Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you had a peaceful day. This is our PM Actual News, and I'm happy to report the actual news to you. I see some comments reporting on death of somebody. No, I don't have any death aside from the CEO of the insurance company, but no, not that I know. But hello, Lisa. Good evening. Hey, Martha. Hello. Good evening. Thank you for providing factual information. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. And I appreciate you for watching and listening and reading. So your newsletter, by the way, is ready. Just have to proofread it and send it to you. So again, get it free, honest.substack.com. So it's a full list of all the news that I reported in the AM section of actual news and the PM. And by the way, if you have not watched the morning part of the actual news, please do. I'm not repeating myself, so it's not going to be boring for you. So I strongly recommend you to watch that 30-minute live stream that I had this morning. So orange cheese is still alive. Of course, Trump is fine, guys. And by the way, I wanted to begin with that. Thank you, Lisa, for reminding me. Please stop tagging me in conspiracies. Please. There's so many weird things going on. And, I don't engage in conspiracies when it comes to MAGA or MAGA, as much as I don't engage in conspiracies when it comes to democratic conspiracies. It shows that everybody is not prone to conspiracies or is willingly even engaging and enjoying it, right? Certainly, I'm facing claims on Twitter for being very boring with actual news, and I'd rather be boring than entertaining and playing with your conscience, with your, well-being, your physical, emotional, psychological well-being. So if it's boring, fine, If anything, that would be my goal than reporting on political theater. So yes, you saw some speeches. Kamala Harris delivered a speech last night to her team. It's a Christmas party, and she thanked them, and she said, "We're not giving up." Yes, but she did concede. She did agree with the results of the election. I do not see factually anything that would point to even having an idea or hope that on January 6th, she's not going to certify the results, that she will be somehow installed by the Democratic government and the DOJ and the FBI to lead the country for the next 4 years. This is a conspiracy theory. If you enjoy it, if it somehow makes you happy, engage with it, but please don't tag me in this. This is a conspiracy theory. So, other that NATO will invoke somehow Chapter 5 because of Georgia, the country Georgia. And that will, somehow affect Trump. First of all, Georgia is not part of NATO. Georgia is not part of EU. For NATO to invoke Chapter 5, Google is free, or ask me. And I'm reporting on Chapter 5 very frequently. in order to invoke Chapter 5, an ally, a part of NATO, has to be attacked. And then the countries will decide on appropriate measure to confront the attack. Georgia is not part of it. And nobody's attacking Georgia. In Georgia, they're as much as in South Korea, they're protesting the election results, as much as in Romania as well, as much as in Moldova as well. Yes, it is happening everywhere. Yes, in France today, they had this trust vote, and pretty much the financial minister had to resign, and so they will be facing elections. Yes, this did happen also in Germany about a month ago, and I reported on that. So it happens everywhere. Will it invoke Chapter 5? No. Another conspiracy that Trump will travel to Paris for reopening of the cathedral, Notre Dame, the cathedral, and somehow Macron will detain him there. First of all, convicted felons can travel to France. They cannot travel to 38 countries, but they can travel to France. Secondly, Macron invited him. Thirdly, he's not, like Netanyahu at least, convict or, there is an order to detain him by ICC, International Court, right? Criminal Court in The Hague. Now, none of that exists for Trump. Why would he be detained? So please get out of this damn bubble. I know that we need to ask leadership to address the issues, and I will be reporting on all the issues. So you can pick one or you can take them all and address it. As much as I ask questions, as much as I am emailing the current administration and asking to address what is literally happening, but also in their own right, they're stating that 50% of the country, or 49.9, voted for MAGA world to take over. So what can Biden do? Yeah, certainly he has immunity. Certainly he can do many things, but he won't be doing it because he respects democracy for what it is now, right? And he respects this 49.9% of people who voted for MAGAville to take over. So that is his stance. Do I agree with that? Whether I would do that, it has nothing to do with it. I'm reporting actual news. So if I will see something, I will tell you. Like we have in the subway in New York. If you see something, say something. If I see something, I'll say something. But constantly spreading conspiracy theories, believing that something will happen mysteriously. Trump will not gonna, either he dies, whatever. How many times did Putin die through this 3-year war in Ukraine? This was whole first year. Every single podcaster would have a clickbaity headline with Putin dying. And then he died. And then he is in a freezer. And then he's not in a freezer. And then there's 7 versions of Putin. Meanwhile, the war continues. Whether it's the real Putin or the freezer Putin or the fake Putin or the Putin on heels, who the hell knows? Ukrainians are still dying, right? And so please get out of bubbles, consume actual news. Again, if you consume politics like, let's say, reality TV, where you like, watching, people pulling their hair and all that kind of stuff, if that floats your boat, do it. But don't call it actual news. That is your political entertainment. And if you like it, in all due respect, enjoy it. Just please don't make me be part of it because I do not enjoy it. So, Lisa says, because you're not clickbait is exactly why I followed you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. I hope you make this a TikTok and put it out. About the conspiracy stuff, I can. Yeah, I'm seeing what I can do given the news today, how my coverage will shift. So we'll see. Okay, so some quick news to begin. I don't have many videos to show you today, by the way. It's a lot of readouts. So first, you have heard at 6:45 a.m. this morning, the CEO of United Healthcare was killed in Midtown Manhattan in front of Hilton Hotel. That is the hotel where it just literally recently covered the Clinton Global Initiative. That's where Trump celebrated his first win. His campaign headquarters were in it. It's literally in the middle of Manhattan. It's 54th Street and, on the 7th Avenue, like really middle of Manhattan on a busy day. Brian Thompson, who's 50, was shot in the chest, and what people briefed in the investigation said appeared to be a targeted attack. The video is everywhere. How this person, in my eyes, looks like a woman, but people say it's a guy, came up and shot the guy a couple of times and left. So NYPD held a press conference, and this are the latest details. Take a look.
The information I'm about to give you is preliminary as our investigation is continuing. This morning at 6:46 a.m., patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct responded to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel located at 1335 Avenue of the Americas. This is between West 53rd Street and West 54th Street. At 6:48 a.m., officers arrive and find the victim, Brian R. Thompson, a 50-year-old male, on the sidewalk in front of the Hilton with gunshot wounds to his back and leg. Mr. Thompson was removed by EMS to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Mr. Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare in Minnesota. Detectives from Night Watch, Midtown North Detective Squad, and Manhattan South Homicide responded to the scene and began their investigation. What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location on foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m., the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted, but at this point we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. We are seeking information from the public to help identify the shooter. As the Commissioner said, we have upped the reward up to $10,000 for information. You're urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-57.
So, and I see questions. Lisa says, was it somebody who was denied coverage? I think it's bigger than that. So there's not much on him. He's from Minnesota, but for the United Healthcare, they have some shady doings. That's from what I'm reading. So perhaps Big Pharma. I don't know. Again, let's not play with this. When we get the actual news, then we will hear, hey, Edward, hello. Do e-bikes unlock with cell phones? Yes. Yes, they have an app. We have an app, and then actually it's through Lyft, like the Lyft that you get the car. We have the bikes, city bikes or the Lyft bikes. One is blue, one is pink, and then you have an app, and then you unlock it with an app and you run with it. So yeah. All right, some quick news. Ukraine is set to receive $50 billion from frozen Russian assets in coming weeks. This was just reported or shared by U.S. Secretary of State Blinken. Quote, we are currently preparing to allocate $50 billion from frozen Russian assets to Ukraine. These funds will be distributed by us and Europe in the coming weeks, providing support to Ukraine for the next year. So again, seeing is believing. Let's see when this happens. Coming weeks, holidays. We have to see. Yeah. And Edward, to your point, can they trace user? Yes, because of the app, certainly they can. Yeah. Why it's not 300 billion? I don't know. About Ukraine now? Yeah. Well, at least 50. 50 billion is what was discussed before, right? I never heard 300 billion number yet. So, all right. Another, again, quick news today, NPR. announced that they have a formation of new partnership with the Religion News Service. Well, they report that that will help them to share the impact of religion in our public and personal lives. The partnership also will help fill the gap caused by the reduction in the number of journalists covering religion, as newspapers and news organizations nationwide have closed. The collaboration will create original audio and digital news stories that will appear in both NPR and RNS, leveraging NPR's national reach and RNS's deep expertise in religion reporting. So from what I checked, yes, they do report on all kinds of religion, but again, this is their homepage today, and you can check it for yourself. This was just a minute ago. How Elon Musk became prophet in chief for tax Trump-leaning conservatives. Okay, well, NPR is said to be defunded by Trump, so I guess that's a way to survive. And perhaps you cannot ban religious newspapers or networks. Perhaps that's sort of a way to stay in the game. I don't know. Now, in terms of Trump, he did appoint Peter Navarro as his former advisor and convicted felon to the White House for his second administration. Navarro will serve as a senior counselor for trade and manufacturing. Trump praised Navarro's experience and policy expertise, noting the background as a trade advisor during Trump's first term. Navarro, who was sentenced to prison for contempt of Congress related to the January 6th attack, has continued to defend his actions, claiming his conviction was politically motivated. Trump also appointed Jared Isaacman to lead the NASA. So Donald Trump announced that Jared Isaacman, founder and CEO of Shift4 Payments, will lead NASA in his upcoming administration. Isaacman, who previously worked with Elon Musk on private spacewalks and funded multiple SpaceX missions, also heads Draken International, a defense contractor. So it's literally, he built his businesses based on federal loans from Pentagon. And, well, federal, not just loans, but business with Pentagon, pretty much. Trump highlighted Isaacman's passion for space, astronaut experience, and reasons for his suitability to lead NASA into new era of exploration. So his astronaut experience is being 2 minutes in, well, out of gravity, pretty much. So what they did when Elon Musk flew SpaceX with 4 business people, right, who paid for that trip. What they do is they don't really go to like International Space Station, which is 400 kilometers from Earth, but they pretty much just reach the position where they lose gravity, pretty much. They just like fly around. And so he was in space. It's not really space. You just go through the stratosphere. For 2 minutes, they were floating and then they came down. That's his astronaut experience, but he paid for it. And that, I guess, makes him valid for running the NASA. Also, it is discussed that people close to Trump say he should dramatically change who gets access to president, suggesting MAGA podcasters, internet personalities, and media could replace outlets like major television networks, the New York Times, and the Washington Post in the White House press room. So it is discussed that yes, the talk is about the first rows. The first rows are usually Associated Press, CNN, CBS, ABC, and then second row is New York Times and whatnot. But they're not just changing the rows. They will switch to, allegedly, again, we'll see what actually will happen, but it certainly affects my coverage. I don't think that the press pool will remain, but also the first rows and predominantly the press passes will be given to MAGA influencers. Joe Rogan's, Nick Fuentes, and alike, which will prohibit me to get even to the truth, honestly. Now it's difficult because like today, I received 3 emails, like press releases from Trump. And I'm not sharing them because none of them are truthful. And so if this is all we're going to get, then I don't know where to fact check it anymore, because again, the website will be changed. So what we can do is currently like download data from the Biden administration, so we know at least where we are right now, economy, jobs wise, inflation, wise, like just to get the data so we can just piece it all together. But certainly it will be very difficult to get to actual news, like the way currently, in full transparency, I contact White House press office, right? Whether it's First Lady, whether it's VP, whether it's President Biden, they're very fast in communicating. I can only speak for myself. I don't know how they communicate with anybody, but I'm nice. People are nice to me, at least, right? When I'm there, I have personal conversation. State Department also is very quick to elaborate. They also issue some truthful statements, right? Same thing is for NATO. I communicate directly with NATO headquarters and their press team. They're also very quick in responding, even though they're overseas in Brussels. Same thing with UN. Same thing. UN is problematic, but that's another story. Same thing with the European Union in Brussels. Very quick responses. I get the data. I get the responses whenever I need to. Again, I'm nice. People are nice. Now, if the White House, State Department, Pentagon, all of it is now misinformation, and the press office or misinformation, and the press briefing room is propaganda, now we caught in this zigzag where we don't know. And so for that reason, I have to see how am I going to cover it, because if I can get to the truth, I can no longer, call it actual news, or I shift to international news, and whatever I can get about the actual US news. So we'll see. We'll see how this will go. Now, in terms of President Biden, it is rumored again, Politico shared that according to senior administration officials close to Biden, he's considering pardoning or issuing this pre-pardons for Liz Cheney, for Adam Schiff, and what else? Let me see. It was, yes. So Senator-elect Adam Schiff, Anthony Fauci, and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney. The concern for these Biden aides is that these individuals, among others, could be targeted by Trump administration. So this is, again, Political reports. So we'll see what's going to happen. Now, in addition to what I reported this morning, President Biden finished his trip in Angola. He is headed back. So what he did is he toured Lobito Port Terminal and highlighted regional infrastructure development. So President Biden visited Lobito Port Terminal in Angola, a key site for Lobito Trans-Africa Corridor, which is huge. It does connect Atlantic and Indian Oceans. And so joined by Angolan President Lourenço and other African leaders, including Presidents Felix Tshisekedi of the DRC and Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia, Biden toured the port, observing shipping containers, railway cars, and copper pallets. The port serves as a vital transportation hub for goods such as grains, agricultural products, and raw minerals. During the tour, Biden was briefed on operational improvements and upcoming infrastructure upgrades funded by the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. A $553 million loan from the DRC to Lobito Atlantic Railway was also announced to enhance the 1,300-kilometer rail line from Lobito to DRC border, aiming to boost regional and international trade. The visit, marked by the sight of American General Electric locomotives and the presence of snipers for security, concluded with a brief family photo of everybody present. Then President Biden also, alongside African leaders, visited Carino Food Processing Factory to emphasize the importance of Lobito Corridor in transforming Africa's infrastructure and economy. Speaking about the potential of the project to reduce travel time across the continent and shift Africa from food importer to food exporter, Biden announced an additional nearly $600 million investment in agriculture, railways, and corridors development. With U.S. investments totaling $4 billion, he highlighted the transformative impact on trade and regional cooperation. And so he also concluded the event by promising that he will return when the railway is completed and he will travel. So he likes the trains, he likes the railways. So that sort of was his commitment to round up the trip. Again, he didn't answer many questions on the trip from the press pool that was screaming, as you saw. And he departed Angola, and he's on his way back. Now, what's going to happen tomorrow is the tree lighting and at the Ellipse near the White House. President Biden, together with Vice President Harris and Second Gentleman, will be attending. I think it's around 5 p.m. Eastern. So they will be lighting the Christmas tree at the White House or in front of the White House. And then on Sunday, the 47th Annual Kennedy Center honors will be held. Of course, at the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. Queen Latifah will be hosting the ceremony, which will honor Francis Ford Coppola, the Grateful Dead, Bonnie Raitt, Arturo Sandoval, and Apollo. Again, President, VP, and Second Gentleman will be in attendance. First Lady is, at that time, will be in Paris and returning back home. So she's not skipping the event. It's just like the travel arrangement, okay? So that's about Biden's Angola trip. So any questions, let me know. And my apologies, my voice is again departing. So sound funny now. I hope he does more pardon than that. He needs to pardon January 6th committee. I don't know. See, he's facing so much. Hi, Rosemary, by the way. He's facing so much hatred for everything he does for Hunter Biden's pardon. And, Gavin Newsom spoke against it, and a bunch of aides spoke against it. Meanwhile, I think Dark Brandon is already not really bothering about endorsements or, people hating on what he's doing. So let's see what actually will happen. Hi, Bonnie. Hello. Lisa says, question on his crew when I type bonsoir or bonjour on my screen. It translated into English. Does it do? No, we see actually the French comments. Okay. First Lady celebrated military families at the NAS Sigonella during final overseas trip. So this is Naval Air Station in Catania, Italy, where she celebrated the holiday season with military families and honored the base's 65th anniversary. The motorcade, passing the groves of orange and olive trees, arrived at the town square where about 150 people, mostly in uniform, gathered to greet her. I do have some pictures. Do I have some pictures? Yes. So she was there. As Christmas carols played over the speakers, the anticipation in the air was palpable. The base's middle high school band performed both Italian and American national anthems before the First Lady took the stage. Flotus began her remarks by emphasizing the deep connection between the Biden family and military. Quote, the Bidens are a military family, she said, acknowledging the sacrifices made by service members and their families. She said, thank you for your service, your sacrifices, and for being part of military community. She went on to discuss the Biden administration's ongoing efforts to support military families, including her Joining Forces initiative, which focuses on improving the lives of military spouses and families. She highlighted a new initiative designed to help family spouses work remotely, ensuring they have employment opportunities no matter where they are stationed. And then she said, listen, this is my last trip overseas and certainly to Italy, so I saved the best for last. Then there was a teenager screaming, please sign my phone, and she couldn't do it. But anyway, everybody was happy. She departed. Then she traveled to her home, her great-grandparents' hometown of Giso. And you see here, they said, we love you. You will always have a home here. So this readout I featured in the AM News, and this is in your newsletter tonight as well. So it's very heartwarming. So you can read it and find out more about it. Okay, so moving on to NATO news. Russian warship fired on German helicopter in the Baltic. and heightened tensions. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it is still, certainly worrisome. So Russian warship fired warning shots at the German military helicopter conducting a mission over Baltic Sea, escalating already a fraught relations between NATO allies and Moscow. The incident, described as an unacceptable act of aggression by Germany, occurred during a broader effort to monitor increasing Russian military activity in the region. While the German helicopter returned safely, the firing of signal rounds has raised concerns about military protocols and the risks of accidental conflict. NATO is expected to address the incident in the upcoming discussions, emphasizing the need for clear communication to prevent misunderstanding. Again, there are Russian drones falling in Poland, falling in Romania, falling on NATO territory. There are videos that I posted where above Alaska, U.S. airplanes are just like, flying, or Russians planes are flying too close to our military planes over Alaska, right? Almost causing our planes to flip. So it worrisome, and we have a statement and we're condemning and blah, 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 but we're not doing anything. Meanwhile, and I'm not suggesting this is the right way, but Russia did the same, shit show above Turkey. In the first year of brutal aggression on Ukraine, right? They did the same thing with Turkey. They were monitoring Black Sea operations, and they started flying over Turkey territory. Turkey said, don't do it. They started crossing more. Turkey said, don't do it. They did again, and Turkey shot the hell out of that plane. Since then, nothing is flying over Turkey. So now remember the undersea cables disturbed by Russians, by a Chinese company that was dragging their anchor for 100 miles, damaging the underwater cables that are responsible for 95% of our communication, whether it's telecom, internet, and whatnot, right? Between Finland and Estonia, Sweden, and Lithuania. So that, right? So now NATO naval forces are protecting critical underwater infrastructure. And so they started doing training. Undersea infrastructure, including data cables, electricity connectors, and pipelines, is vital for our societies, NATO says. During exercise Freezing Winds, NATO allies exercised off the coast of Finland to enhance the surveillance and protection of critical underwater infrastructure. In the frigid, cold waters off the coast of Finland, NATO allies gathered for Freezing Winds 24, an exercise in the protection of critical underwater infrastructure, such as gas and oil pipelines and the internet cables. Standing NATO Mine Countermeasures Group 1 trained in using uncrewed underwater vehicles to survey the seabed and identify simulated threats to CUI, which is the critical underwater infrastructure, CUI, right? So the exercise involved more than 4,000 personnel from 15 allies and more than 30 naval vessels, including those from Standing NATO Maritime Group 1. Exercise Freezing Winds ran from 20th to 29th of November 2024. Participating nations were Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Latvia, Lithuania, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Sweden, United Kingdom, and United States. And I have a video for you. So take a look. It's a 3-minute video. Maybe it's boring. If it's boring, put it in the comments. I'll stop the hell out of it. Okay?
Excellent opportunity to highlight the presence, ready.
So the footage here includes the shots of the Finnish Navy preparing for deployment of dummy sea mines, the deployment of UUVs, and sound bites from Commander Beata Kroll, standing NATO Mine Countermeasures Group 1, Commander Thomas Rasmussen, standing NATO Maritime Group 1, and Mine Warfare Officer from the Finnish military. So that's what we're watching here. Anyway, I fast forwarded it. It's 3 minutes. Well, altogether it's 38 minutes, and I watched the whole operation. It's pretty interesting. It made me think. Freezing waters, just middle of winter at this point, and just this F around, find out situation with Russia. They're still digging, like they're trying to disturb, like underwater cables. So it's like you have nothing else to do. Okay, let's talk about Belarus. Belarus is run by a dictator, Lukashenko, right? It's a proxy state by Russia, pretty much. They're very dependent on Russia. They kiss the ring constantly. Lukashenko has sons who will take over. It's a full-blown dictatorship. Those who are not agreeing with this dictatorship are literally disappearing from the streets. Whether it's those are athletes, right, who travel, they would travel abroad to compete and never return. So now they prohibit athletes to travel and all that kind of stuff. So complete dictatorship, just, and this is a potato head who's running it. And why potato head? He used to grow potatoes. That's his background. So the U.S. Department of State hosted a second strategic dialogue with Belarusian democratic leaders in Vilnius, Lithuania on December 4th, today, co-chaired by U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary Christopher Smith and Belarusian leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. The dialogue included representatives from various U.S. agencies and Belarusian civil society. Discussions focused on the human rights abuses under the Lukashenko regime, including the imprisonment of 1,300 political prisoners and the need for their unconditional release. The U.S. also condemned Belarus' role in supporting Russia's war in Ukraine and reiterated its support for free, fair elections in Belarus. The dialogue underscored U.S. commitment to supporting Belarusian sovereignty and democracy and the bravery of those fighting for freedom in Belarus. And certainly, if Putin were to fall, Belarus were to change. But unless this happens, it would be delusional to expect something different. When Wagner Group, after Prigozhin was killed in that accident, the aerial whatever explosion, the Wagner Group was transferred to Belarus. And even before Prigozhin was eliminated, so to speak, they were set to move to Belarus. So Belarus released received nukes from Russia. Belarus shares the border with Ukraine. If you want to reach Kiev, certainly that's your next resort. So they're very much involved in this partial occupation of Ukraine. So also, U.S. imposed visa restrictions on Russian officials over abduction and abuse of Ukrainian children. Thankfully, my question is, it took really 3 years to do that. The U.S. State Department has imposed visa restrictions on 5 Russian officials involved in human rights abuses in Ukraine, specifically related to the forced deportation, transfer, and confinement of Ukrainian children. These children have been subjected to identity changes, pro-Russian indoctrination, and wrongful adaptations or adoptions by Russian families, with Russia obstructing efforts to return them to Ukraine. Since Russia's full-scale invasion, thousands of Ukrainian children have been unlawfully deported or transferred. The U.S. is committed to supporting Ukraine and in locating and returning these children and holding accountable those responsible for these human rights violations. The sanctions follow a visa restriction policy targeting individuals involved in abuses or violation of international law in Ukraine. Just to understand that this folk could travel to back and forth to U.S. And by the way, so many in Putin's cabinet, including Putin's children, are U.S. citizen. Like 3 years in the war. And yes, Bonnie, it's called kidnapping. Indeed. It's also called, slavery in cells, or it's like selling people. And so many in Russian Duma, which is sort of their parliament, are dangling, Ukrainian kids. And they're like, I adopted this kid. And they let the kid say that, I love Russia. I always will serve Russia. I'm so happy I'm in Russia. And so they're like having this kids as puppets, so to speak. And it's sort of a trend to adopt the kid. Also, U.S. sanctioned TGR Group network to counter sanctions evasion and illicit financial activity. So the United States sanctioned 5 individuals and 4 entities linked to this group, an international network involved in evading sanctions for Russian elites. This action, taken in coordination with the UK's National Crime Agency, the DEA, and the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, is part of a broader effort to disrupt illicit activities using virtual assets to shield and grow wealth. The move underscores the G7's commitment to counteracting sanctions circumvention and weakening Russia's ability to fund malign activities globally. The U.S. will continue to protect the international financial system by targeting sanctions evaders worldwide. And so, exactly, human trafficking. Yes, Sierra. Yes, absolutely. And you were asking some question. Yes, before. So, and by the way, thank you for being here. Wondered about China-Elmo relations when it comes to knocking out internet. Yes, and I put it in the newsletter. If you're reading the newsletters from 11/11, there was a newsletter about the cables, and I did research and deep dive, and who's going to benefit from it is Starlink. To your point, yes. Absolutely. Okay. And lastly, on Romania. So remember, this ultra-right leader is suddenly winning the first round of elections. He's projected to win the second round of elections. He's very close to RFK Jr. I read out what he thinks about water and space and everything. And he's bala and probably has a couple of worms. So just today, Department of State issued a statement on Romania. We have been closely following the elections in Romania. It is the choice of Romanian people whom they elect, and the United States does not interfere with that choice or process. We are concerned by the Romanian Supreme Council for National Defense, their report of Russian involvement in malign activity or cyber activity designed to influence the integrity of Romanian electoral process. Now, my question is here. Let's stop for a second. You are concerned about Russian cyber activity that affects the election results. Let's go back 1 month ago. Can we address the threats that we had here on our homeland? On election day, fake bomb threats, cyber activity through the roof by China, by Russia. Can we address how this might have, and I carefully say might have, affected the results of our election? Can you please address that? You're addressing it in Romania. I know it's just a statement. I get it. But can we address it here? How long shall we wait? Anyway, data referenced in the report should be fully investigated to ensure the integrity of Romania's electoral process. The United States values Romania's contributions as a strong NATO ally and partner in the European Union. Romania's hard-earned progress anchoring itself in transatlantic community cannot be turned back by foreign actors seeking to shift Romania's foreign policy away from its Western alliances. Now, again, can this sentence be applied to the United States right now? Because you're so good pointing it out in Romania. Can we point it out here? Because I can take that sentence and put US instead of Romania, and it will fit as a glove. Just commenting. Any such change would have serious negative impact on U.S. security cooperation with Romania, while a decision to restrict foreign investment would discourage U.S. companies from continuing to invest in Romania. Through a partnership, we have made important progress in our defense cooperation and economic partnership and taken steps towards visa-free travel. We will continue to work together to preserve the security of our nations and the prosperity and well-being of our citizens. And not to discourage what State Department is doing with this wonderful statement, but Trump comes in, what? The White House turns into Trump House on January 20th at noon. RFK Jr.'s buddy wins in Romania. Boom, here we have the best partner in Romania. It's just a different kind of partner than what you are referencing here. But because we're failing to address what is happening here, while issuing interesting statements and quite truthful statements about other countries, we are contributing to this shift, aren't we? Just a question to be answered. And I'm done with the news. And my voice is done probably with the news. Interesting thing to finish off. This is what I found out today. Did you know that Disneyland is in Los Angeles and LA Land and Disney World is in Orlando? And they put it this way. So you remember that it is in Orlando. I totally didn't know. It's the first time I found it out today. It took me so many years to find out where's Disneyland, where's Disney World. So anyway, on this note, thank you for tuning in. I'm done. I will be live tomorrow morning with the actual news, Thursday, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. And First Lady is traveling to Abu Dhabi. And she has, I think, 4 or 5 meetings tomorrow, and she's leaving to Qatar at night. Very busy schedule. President Biden, again, with VP and Second General, will be at the tree lightings. He will be just arriving at that time to attend this. He also on Sunday will be welcoming all the recipients of the award right before this, the Kennedy Center award or ceremony. He will be welcoming them in the East Room of the White House. That is very pretty and decorated right now. And then he will be attending that the concert and everything there. So that's what I will report on. And of course, we'll see what happens then in the middle of it, Friday and Saturday. So that's it. Any questions, complaints, concerns, let me know. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you, Rosie Marie. Thank you, Sierra. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Great news again. Thank you. And I don't want to overstay my welcome because, not all the news are happy, but I really want to encourage you not to follow the okie dokes and conspiracies and all that type of stuff, because we cannot always chase the high, right? This hope is important. And it's really part of our humanity, but don't chase the false hopes and, somebody will take over and Trump will be detained and all this kind of again, if it floats your boat and you like it, consume it as entertainment, but let's not make it the main news because it's so difficult and it's so fragile to keep actual news away from political theater. And it's just such a vital moment at this point to try to persevere. I will try to do it. I hope we will succeed to keep actual news upon January 20th. But if there will be no way to find what the actual news are in the United States and the White House, I will be the first to state that. And we focus on everything else. But, I will not report on something that just comes out of a propaganda machine and I will just report it at price value. That will not happen. I'd rather not report anything than do that. So we will see what will happen. Until then, we'll stick to actual news and we're good to go. All right? Okay. Thank you so much. Now your newsletter is coming in a few minutes, honest.substack.com, with this and all the readouts from AM news and this news. So it's a full readout so you can have everything in one spot. Okay? All right. Thank you so much for joining me. See you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for the AM Actual News. Have a good night.